Dan Illman, Matt Bernier, the DRFBets race of the day for Saturday, April the 20th, race number 11 at Charlestown. It is the Grade 2 $1 million Charlestown Classic. And for our loyal race of the day viewers, all month long, money back on the DRFBets race of the day. Bet $7 to win on any horse in any race of the day this month. And if your horse runs second or third, you get your money back. Learn more at promos.drf.com. Let's meet the field for the Grade 2 Charlestown Classic. 3 turns around the bull ring configuration at Charlestown. You can access free formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. Download them, handicap along with us. We'll take the field in post position order, beginning with the much improved Mongolian Groom. Mongolian Groom ran a surprising third in the big cap at 53-1 last time out. And boy, Matt, I thought Giovanni Franco gave him a very wise ride. He let the speeds go and battle it out, and he picked up some pieces and got a big chunk of that purse.
And I thought he ran really well, all things considered. You take a look and see, I think he's very clearly getting the biggest class relief of anyone in this field. There's no one that's remotely close to a gift boxer in McKinsey. And he was only about 3.5 lengths behind those top two. He finished ahead of Campaign, who we saw come back and win the Tokyo City Cup last weekend with a 95 buyer. The question really becomes, and it is the same question for all these horses that have not run at Charlestown just yet, how are they going to handle 3 turns, the bull ring configuration? It's not the easiest thing, and Mongolian Groom's trainer also mentioned that the flight in, the horse didn't love it, may have been a little bit uncomfortable for a couple days afterward. Seems to be fine now, but it's certainly not ideal leading into $1 million race.
As wheeling back on short notice, had to ship all the way across the country. The number 2 is Nanush, now in the very capable hands of Jorge Navarro. This horse won the Zia Park Derby last year. Willing to give him the Razorback. First start off the layoff as a 4-year-old. And last time out in the Essex Handicap, I thought he ran okay pressing the pace. His Beyer's speed figures are solid. He has enough speed to gain a good spot while saving ground early. Why is it that I think he's a turf horse?
Well, I mean, look, it's entirely possible. You go through and you look at that run at Canterbury back in July of last year. That was a big effort, or September, I should say, of last year. That was a big effort, and then they immediately transitioned him back to the main track. Now, the question here for me is, you take a look and you see all the connections, and you see Navarro. Navarro's also got another one in here in War Story, and it does make me wonder a little bit from a running style standpoint, where is Nanush going to be positioned? Are they going to let him roll out there on the front end and try to set things up for a horse coming from slightly off of it? Again, he's another one with the configuration. How's he going to handle 3 turns? He might be speed nearest the rail. I wonder if you need to be intent to go and try to establish some position.
Navarro has only had him a short while, but we see 2 bullet works over the deep Gulf Stream West surface, perhaps indicating that we will see good speed for Nanush, a lightly raced horse with a good amount of upside. The number 3 is Diamond King, who made a successful return off a layoff in his 4-year-old debut. He earned his fastest ever Beyer speed figure in winning at a 1-turn mile. While this horse did win the Tessio last year at 9 furlongs, I've always liked him at slightly shorter distances. Maybe he'll handle this bull ring, though. I think he can set up in a good spot in the second flight.
No, I agree. For me, he's always been the kind of horse that I feel like shorter is going to be better for him and always has been better for him, which is kind of interesting just because in a couple of weeks we're going to see if Bellafina can handle 1 1/8 miles, and Bellafina is the little full sister to this horse. I like everything about him. I think there's ability, but again, the distance is a little bit of an unknown. I suppose maybe a little bit of agility at this sort of bull ring configuration is beneficial, but I don't know that I love him as the distances get longer.
Let's see where the Timeform US Pace Projector places the runners after the first half mile. They believe Diamond King will make the lead. It's certainly possible. I think that the 8, the local horse Runnin' to Love You, is just going to be sent on a mission to try to clear this field. And Diamond King has shown that he is very capable tracking off the horse. So I wouldn't be surprised if we just switch out the 8 and the 3. But I do agree that the 2 and the 4 are going to be up close as well. And the number 4 is Rally Cry, trained by Todd Pletcher. And it's just a shame that Todd just never could get this horse going last year as a 5-year-old. He came back off of a long layoff in a sprint at Saratoga, and you knew something was amiss because he was wearing 2 bar shoes that day, and he got beat 16 lengths. Well, they took the bar shoes off, and Todd ran him in the Woodward, and all things considered, I thought he ran well. He had to be hustled from an outside post. He pressed Leah Frick, who was in very sharp form at the time, and he really hung in there all the way down to the wire. That race produced not only 4 next out winners, but Navarro, who came back to finish second in the Breeders' Cup Classic. And Todd does this. He does this very well with horses off 6-month layoffs. Here's the formulator fact. In graded stakes races over the past 3 years, older dirt routers off a 6-month layoff or greater, he wins a third of the time with a 331 ROI. When this horse is right, he's capable of running big races.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw that in the Aladar going back to 2017. He popped a 110 buyer in the afternoon. If you believe that he's going to run anything close to that in a triple-digit range, he's just going to be way the horse to beat in a spot like this. For me, I've always thought of him as sort of a longer distance type, and it does make me wonder a little bit about the tight turns, going 3 turns at Charlestown. Is this going to be really what this horse loves? The other thing that, and perhaps this is just coming from someone that's been burned by him in the past, this may not be a grade 1 caliber field, but it feels like he has disappointed more often than not in the big positions. And when he has been in against lesser inferior company, that's when he makes his hay. So look, again, this is probably not the kind of field that you want to use that last piece as sort of a barometer. Again, this is not a grade 1 group, but combining the sort of track configuration with what he's done at a short price in the past at bigger stages, I just don't totally trust him.
And he is likely to be bet down from his 9-2 morning line. Let's talk about Imperative. You mentioned agility being key over this configuration at Charlestown, and this horse is like a little jackrabbit around these turns. We saw that when he won the race in 2017, when he was a good 4th behind the Pletcher-trained Stanford in 2016, and when he was 2nd behind the speedy Moreno in 2015. He's just a cool horse. He's banked $3.2 million, but you do have to wonder if at the age of 9, he's just getting a little bit long in the tooth.
Based on his recent form, he's very, very difficult to trust and difficult to recommend. Having said that, his record at Charlestown is really impressive and arguably the best in the entire field. He's the kind of horse, to me, if you're playing a multi-race wager, I'm not picking him, but I would certainly be having even the smallest of savers on him, just in case getting back to Charlestown wakes him up.
The 3rd-place finisher from his most recent race came back to run 2nd with an 87 buyer, then 2nd again in the 5th season stakes last week at Oaklawn with a 93. Here's Discreet Lover, a grade 1 stakes winner, closing in on $1.5 million in earnings. He pulled off one of the big upsets in 2018 when he ran him down in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. And I thought, all things considered, Matt, he didn't run badly in the Breeders' Cup Classic. He wasn't expected to win. He was steadied a bit entering the far turn, and I thought he ran on in between horses. Now, he was scheduled to make his debut earlier this month. 2 weeks ago, he was listed as a vet scratch at Aqueduct. This barn, Uriah St. Louis, they've been waiting for the big horse to get back, because over the past 90 days, they struggled with older runners on dirt. 1 for 34, 73-cent ROI. This fella needs some pace up front.
And he's another one that when I look at him, I think 1 1/8, 1 1/4, but a conventional 1 1/8. I don't know about this 3-turn configuration. They tried him at Charlestown last year. I don't know what the situation was, but he just was not very good that day. I kind of look at it and say, given the fact that he's been gone for as long as he has, I don't know that this is going to be ideal for him. To me, it's sit back, see what he does here, and then take him next start out.
We have the defending champion in gate number 7. That is something awesome. 101 buyer speed figure last year in winning this race. Just nothing's gone right for him since. Beaten favorite in his subsequent 2 starts, then was just overmatched in the Pegasus World Cup. Most concerning to me was the last race, the General George. Do you really have a big excuse? I know he was running into an extremely swift sprinter and uncontested, and the race has come back live.
But like you say, he didn't really do a heck of a lot of running, and he got pace that theoretically should have helped him that day. It does make you wonder, he was gone for some time after that Pimlico special, and I know he came back and he ran relatively fine in that allowance race, but he just has not gotten back to the form that he had in early 2018, and I think he needs that in order to be a legitimate player in here. But again, he does have that win at Charlestown.
The local fans in West Virginia are going to be rooting for the 8. Runnin' to Love Ya. All he's done is win 8 races in a row, 11 of 15 lifetime. Reminds you a little bit of horses like Russell Road and Confucius Say, those hard-hitting West Virginia breds. But even with all those big victories, he's yet to crack a 90 on the buyer speed figure scale. And if he is hustled to the lead, he's likely going to face the strongest pressure he's ever faced in his career.
seems like it's a bit of a tall task, but at the same time, we've talked about it. This is not a sort of a field littered with superstars. If you think he can be forwardly placed, we know that the track's not an issue for him. And maybe some of the other big names and big connections, maybe they kind of stub their toe a little bit. Maybe he could get brave. I don't love his chances, but I'm not going to talk anybody off a big price.
Jorge Navarro has the 2. He also has the 9, War Story, who I thought ran great in this race last year to be necked by Something Awesome. He didn't break very well. He was hustled into a tracking position. He had to work hard in tandem with Something Awesome into the far turn, and he was game while hemmed down to the inside. But after that race, it seemed like the race might have taken a little bit something out of him. Good efforts in the Brooklyn, in the Greenwood Cup, the Temperance Hill, but the beaten favorite in all 3 of those races, and his last start as a 7-year-old was not good in the marathon. He's going to be coming off a layoff in this race.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how he, not only coming off that layoff, but he had been running in longer distance races prior to the long layoff. I will say, though, he's run well fresh in the past. Charlestown is not an issue for him. I agree with you. He ran well last year. I thought he ran well in the race 2 or 3 years ago, whenever his other start was. So to me, this is a situation where if things sort of line up for him, you could be looking at a very playable price on a horse that can handle this configuration. And if he's ready to go off the bench, which again, he has shown in the past that he can fire fresh, I don't think he's crazy.
$2.6 million in earnings for War Story, and against Dabster last time, who came back to run Buyers of 99, 99, and 91 with a couple of multiple graded placings. But note, last year he came into the Classic off of 2 preps. This year, none. Unbridled Juan goes out for Jose Corrales and Stronach Stable, and after being gelded towards the end of 2017, Unbridled Juan has gotten a little bit better. Early in his career, he was sort of known as a bridesmaid, lots of seconds, lots of thirds, and in fact, he was second in his most recent start at Laurel. I think he's an okay horse. If he goes off at a good price, you could probably expect a good effort. I just have never really trusted Unbridled Juan, and I've kind of given up.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. I mean, for what he's done out on the track, it seems like he's another one. When he does win those races, usually against inferior company, now you've got to deal with the Charlestown situation. That's an unknown. And again, I mean, the outside draw, say what you will, breaking from post 10, you could be hung wide, not only going through 1 turn, but 2 of the 3 turns. So we'll find out what kind of trip he's going to work out in here. I'd consider him underneath. I don't know about on top.
Never off the board, however, at 1 1/8 from 7 lifetime starts. Let's take a look at our top selections for the Charlestown Classic. You're going with Mongolian Groom, dropping out of the big cap. He faced arguably the 2 best older horses in the country right now, in Giftbox, in McKinsey, and he gave him a good fight. Mongolian Groom, 6-1 on the morning line. What kind of trip do you foresee, and give me numbers?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see. I think Nanouche is going to be forward. I think Diamond King is going to be forward. There's a real scenario where he kind of takes up sort of a pocket position. I wouldn't be surprised if even a little bit farther back. Maybe he is mid-pack trying to save ground. And to be totally honest, I don't know if he's going to be able to handle a track like this. I don't know with any of the horses that have never run over this track if they're going to appreciate it or not. The way that I looked at him and I looked at this race, I said, if he can run the Santa Anita handicap again here in this spot, simply put, I think it's going to win. I think it's better than what anyone else is capable of. It's still an unknown, but the good news is at 6-1, I'll take my chances.
He's my second choice in this race behind Rally Cry. Todd's had good success selecting horses from his gigantic stable to run at Charlestown, and we saw the formulator fact. He does well with these horses off the layoff. He has them ready to fire. I like this horse's tactical speed. I'm going Rally Cry. I'm going 4, 1, 2, and 6 numbers.
1957.
Fun race as always. The Grade 2 $1 million Charlestown Classic, your race of the day for Saturday. Remember, race of the day viewers, that money back promo. Every race of the day in April, if you bet $7 to win on any horse, any one horse, and your horse runs second or third, you get your money back. Promos.drf.com is where you go for all the details. Approximate post time for the CT Classic, 5:37 Eastern. Good luck.